This year, World Refugee Day comes as the number of displaced people around the globe hits record levels of nearly 60 million people, the majority of whom are hosted in developing countries. By the end of 2013, developing countries hosted 10.1 million refugees, or 86% of the global population of refugees. Meanwhile, those countries which tend to cause refugees through invasion, intervention, supporting coups, dictators, or economic exploitation are doing very little to help refugees, often locking them up. Many cities around the world are protesting today and demanding solutions.
This year's theme for World Refugee Day is standing together, and I think that's appropriate. It should mean that host communities standing together with refugees. It should mean that the international community is standing with host countries such as Jordan. And it's not just the platitudes that a country like Jordan needs. Like, everyone knows that Jordan and Lebanon and Turkey are doing a great job in hosting refugees, but what they need is financial support. They need financial support not only for building refugee camps and providing tents and food, they need to have much longer financial support in regards to development assistance.
Tens of thousands of people are marching today through the streets of London in a major demonstration against austerity measures. People have been flocking to the capital from all over the country to take part in the protests organized by the People's Assembly. The demonstration comes in response to a recent announcement by Britain's Conservative government that it plans to adopt new measures to reduce national deficit, including further welfare cuts and cuts to social services. Relatives of the 9 black people killed in terror act in Charleston faced the white man who confessed to the murders in a court this Friday and offered him forgiveness and a message of love.
We welcome you Wednesday night in our Bible study with open arms. You have killed some of the most beautifulest people that I know. Every fiber in my body hurts. And it'll never be the same. Tawanza Sanders is my son, but Tawanza was my hero. Tawanza was my hero. But as we said in Bible study, we enjoyed you, but may God have mercy on you.
However, while some are forgiving, many have sworn to continue protesting the systematic racism in the United States.
What's the point y'all are making? No. They don't want to deal with the anger. I'm mad. I'm pissed. What are we supposed to do with the anger? What do? We can't go pray. That's not working. We can't go be a child, 13 years old, playing at the park. That's not going to be, it's not working.
After a month of protests in Honduras demanding the resignation of President Juan Hernandez after allegations of his involvement in a multi-million-dollar corruption case, the government is calling for a national dialogue with all the political and social sectors that have put the government in the uncomfortable situation.
The government needs legitimacy in the face of waves of protests, which have shown the government's low credibility in the electoral process. There was electoral fraud in the last elections, and also the government's campaign was financed in some way by the funds that came from the embezzlement of the Social Security Institute.
According to an investigation, more than $500 million were stolen from the different public institutions by the National Congress during the government of Porfirio Lobo from 2010 to 2013. This has created a crisis in the current government made up of many public officials that supposedly were part of these corruption cases. The national dialogue is a strategy to lower the pressure.
Es una necesidad impostergable, así le respondería yo.
This is a necessity that can't wait. That would be my answer. There is no point in trying to avoid the possibility of national dialogue. That is inclusive and doesn't exclude. With a lot of tolerance and respect, all groups should be involved and deserve to be heard.
On the other hand, groups and political parties of the political oppositions believe that it is not time to create dialogues, but instead what should happen should be more concrete actions against corruption and those who promote it.
It is no longer just the political parties of the opposition that are demanding an international anti-impunity commission. All Honduran people, sick of so many delays and all the investigations that have been taking place for many years, are making that demand. We are not only talking about the current government, but also previous governments.
The Honduran government hasn't convinced the political opposition to sit down in national dialogue, and the protest continues growing in the streets, demanding an end to corruption and the change in the current authorities. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
Here in Mexico City, a group of academics and drug legalization advocates gathered in a forum to discuss and debate the effects and solutions to the so-called war on drugs. For most, the 40 years of prohibition and criminalization policies foster anything but positive effects.
For sure, what this has done is destroy the social fabric in many parts of the country, increase conflict, destroy our balance and tradition, and make the army play a role that it shouldn't play.
Since 2006, Mexico's army has been fulfilling the role of a police force, patrolling the country's streets in its attempt to confront drug cartels. Although in the last 10 years, analysts estimate that up to more than 100,000 people have been killed, officials affirm the policy has brought security.
I think that it is significant that we continue to get these results, but I think that we need to analyze in depth because without a doubt there is a great advancement in treating crime. We can look at the different crimes committed and see that today, as the statistics are, there is a decrease.
However, according to the 2015 Global Peace Index, Mexico is at the bottom. Drug legalization advocates argue that true security and stability for Mexico will only return if drugs are treated as a health issue rather than security.
And at least regulate some drugs, really move drugs out of the criminal justice system, stop treating them like a police issue or a national security issue because they're not. And instead start to regulate them sensibly and responsibly so we can reduce the harms of drugs to the maximum extent possible while also not creating violence, death, destruction, and other unwanted harms from our policies.
While families of Mexico's drug war victims continue to demand more support and resources from the authorities, Mexico has increased its spending and budget on arms with $2 billion in military equipment expected to be purchased during the current administration of Enrique Peña Nieto. Clayton Can, Telesur, Mexico City.
And we end in the United States, in New York City's Times Square, where yesterday 1,500 people gathered to see 1 ton of seized ivory crushed in a bid to reduce the U.S.'s massive illegal ivory trade. The ivory, of which the vast majority was reportedly seized from around New York and Philadelphia, is merely a minute part of the U.S. illegal ivory market, one of the largest in the world. An estimated 100,000 elephants were killed for their tusks between 2011 and 2014.